3
That's
because
right.
apparently it's like the subway series of Spain, okay? Madrid,
Yeah.
Barcelona, there's gonna be a lot of cursing,
And I'm volunteering
going
at
on.
trunk or treat this evening, so
Oh, we're back.
boom. Let's do it. Yeah.
Hello there.
Hooray.
Welcome to another episode.
Welcome.
Oh, my
Welcome.
chair's making a creaky sound.
We've been recording for hours now. Just
Mhm,
knocking it out, knocking it out. It's gotta be done.
mhm.
It's gotta be done.
It
All
does,
right.
it does, it just needs to be done.
Yeah.
What have you been reading, darling?
Okay, you know what? I finally started. Wait, let me get the series name to make sure I know what it is so I get that right. But yes, okay, just want to make sure. Okay. I started the Hannibal Lecter series. Okay, I started reading
Oh,
Red Dragon by
interesting.
Thomas Harris. Look, it's all like my book's all like old and like peeling away. I love it. I love it. Right? 49 cents, guys at McKay. 49 cents. I started this a few days ago. And I am already into it. I don't know. There's something about how the book starts. It just feels, I don't know, like fresh and lively and like I'm just in for a horrific good time. Probably 23 pages in, but um we're met with Will Graham, and he's had a visit from an old FBI boss, and he's basically begging him to like, come on, leave this glorious place of Florida with your cute wife and kid, and help us out on this case. Come on, for old time's sake, come on.
Mhm.
No one else can do it but you. And he's slightly reluctant, but also understands that he has a special set of skills, and his boss knows that he has a special set of skills that they could use for them to break this case. And so, where I am in the story is he's just kind of gotten to the scene of this crime, and he's kind of doing his own little walkthrough to kind of get a sense of what's going on. And that's where I am. And I'm very excited to get through this book. It's shorter than I thought. It's only 339 pages. And it reads pretty quickly for me. So I'm excited. And there are 4 books in this series, and I have them all. Scooped them up at McKay one day, so I've got them all. So I think I'm gonna probably devour this little series.
Yeah, Jesus has been looking, I think, for a hardback of Red Dragon for a while. I don't know if he ever got it. He's been wanting to read that series as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so
Oh, I thought I
I
sent him a cover. Or what? Did I send him a hardcover or something else?
probably something else, I don't
Okay.
remember. I don't know which ones he's missing, but he's always looking for something in Silence of the Lambs, and I don't
Yeah.
know. So I started my other Persephone book, which they're also numbered. This is 125. That means I have a lot of
Ooh,
Persephone
a lot
books
to
to
get
get.
through.
Um, so this is Guard Your Daughters by I don't know, I'm sure it doesn't matter. Like, so just a gray cover
Right.
by Diana Tutton. I think this was written in oh god, I want to say the 50s or 60s.
Mm.
Originally, this was written in 55. So my friend Kieran read this and it sounded like something I would like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that I am not sure if I like it or if I just need to know what the hell is going on. So I will tell you at the end where I fall. But we have this very strange little family living sort of in the countryside during um just like sort of just after World War II.
Mhm.
And so there's rationing and all of that. And they're in England, obviously. And there's a father, there's a mother who's quite strange. The father's a writer. They are somewhat well to do, or at least they live in a very well to do home. They have 5 daughters. One of them is married and has gone to live in London with her husband. The other 4 are at home. They do not go to school. They are
Mm.
very strange little girls. They're not even little girls. You think they're little girls when you first meet our narrator, and you realize she's like a young adult.
Okay.
There's just things are just very strange in this house, and I need to know what's going on. So it starts with this boy, Gregory, who happens to break down outside of the house, and Morgan, who is our narrator, um, she sees him and she's a very like vivacious person. So she just kind of like sweeps him up in her like wake and just takes him into the house, and you start to meet the family and you start to meet the sisters and everybody's a little kooky. They're very
Mm,
smart but like not in a conventional way, like they've
yeah.
kind of all found things that they've gotten very good at. They've had governesses until recently. So like the youngest one, they're trying to get into school. Like the other sister wants the youngest one to go to school because now that she's living with other people, she's realizing like how
The
bizarre
deficiencies.
her life is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, how strange they are. So, like, just things keep getting drip fed to you as you're going along, and I may be a quarter of the way through, and it's just I need to know what's going on with this family. They're very bizarre, and, like, you get sort of hints of what life maybe was like. Um, I don't know if it's before the war
Mm,
specifically, or if it's hints of what life was like before whatever has made the mother this, like, person everybody's walking on eggshells around.
mm,
Because the mother has, like I don't know what happened to the mother, but something is not right there, and the dad seems to be quite sort of self-absorbed in his own, like, writing world, like, he writes mysteries. Um, but then sometimes when he talks to his daughters, it's like the language is very strange, like, he'll call them his, like,
okay.
little sluts or something like that, like, it's weird.
Okay.
It's just all very strange, Naomi, and I need to know what happens. Like, I need to know what
Interesting.
I need more information. So yeah, this is Guard Your Daughters. I think overall I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to like this, according to my friend. Um, but right now I'm just very perplexed by all these characters and what's going on. And there are so many of them because like all the sisters are quite strange. And there's a Thisbe and a Teresa, and I get those two confused all the time. But yeah, I'm just perplexed. I'm really
Huh.
perplexed on this whole story. I don't dislike it, but I need to know what it all means. They talk about going to the capital R room all the time, which just sounds like the living room. But like,
Oh,
why is it
okay.
capital R room? Like, why
Yeah.
is it like the room? They talk about like when the tennis lawn was like a tennis lawn, and now it's all like overgrown, and there's no more gardener, and just things. Something's going on in this place.
Okay, a little weird. A little weird.
It's a little weird,
Okay.
but it's fast moving, it's engaging, so we'll see. Mm,
Okay. Interesting. Well, I would like to know when you finish, like what your overall thoughts were. Like, okay, I
I will
ended up
tell you.
really enjoying it, or like, just kind of stayed a little up in the air for me.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I'm done.
Hmm. All right.
Certainly. What are we here for?
Well, fall's here, and
Fall is here.
fall is here, man. And we're going to share some books that we think would be nice to read during the fall. Although, you know what? Here's what I'm realizing, right? So, a lot of times when people are looking for fall books, they're looking for books that are set in the fall season. And I kind of don't like read like that. Um when I For me, if I'm building like a list of, oh, I want to read these during the fall. It's not because they're set in fall. I just feel like that's the time of year that I would like to read said book. It may be set in the summer. You know what I mean? Like the seasonal setting in the book really is what's driving me to read it in the fall. Like a lot of times in the fall, I want to read like bigger books,
Mhm.
chunkier books, more deep books. So it's like the season that the book is set in really has nothing to do with it for me. But I realize a lot of people are literally looking for that. So you're gonna get a
Well,
hodgepodge of things today.
I don't think that I think that much about my reading.
Right.
I just kinda read books. But I did try to pick things that felt like good, like, on an atmospheric, like, like
Yeah.
good books for fall. not necessarily, like I don't know when they're all set. Uh,
Right.
but I think they all have a sort of, like, darker, more insulated, some of them are horror, but, like, I think that's about the only thing, which is for me, it's I tend to like more isolating reads, which then leads
Mhm.
you to, like, the more the horror, the gothic, the more like, I think I like those a little bit more in the darker months of the year, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it probably runs through into, like, winter as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah. So do you
So there
wanna
you
kick
go.
us off?
Sure. I'm gonna kick us off with Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is book one in the what is this called? The Founders Trilogy. I think book two is called Shorefall. Book three is called
Oh, I
Locklands.
can't remember
I read this
that
so
one.
long ago, but when I did read it, I kind of like flew through it. It was a really, really fun read. Um, all right, so Sancha Grotto is a thief and a damn good one. And her latest target, a heavily guarded warehouse on Tavon's docks, is nothing her unique abilities can't handle. But unbeknownst to her, Sancha's oh, excuse me. Sancho's been sent to steal an artifact of unimaginable power, an object that could revolutionize the magical technology known as scribing. The merchant houses who control this magic, the art of using coded commands to imbue everyday objects with sentience, have already used it to transform Tavon into a vast, remorseless capitalist machine. But if they can unlock the artifact's secrets, they will rewrite the world itself to suit their aims. Now, someone of those houses wants Sancha dead and the artifact for themselves. And in the city of Tavan, there's nobody with the power to stop them, to have a chance at surviving and at stopping the deadly transformation that's underway. Sancha will have to marshal unlikely allies, learn to harness the artifact's power for herself, and undergo her own transformation, one that will turn into something she could never have imagined. It was a great book. I never finished this trilogy, although I have the other two books. So maybe I'll do that at the top of 2025. But this was a very, very fun read. And Sancha is a great character. And that's Foundry Side by Robert Bennett Jackson.
I still need to read that. I don't
It's a
own
lot
it
of
yet.
fun.
One day I'll grab it, and I know you love it, I know a lot of people love it, I just haven't gotten there yet,
Yeah.
but I will get there one day. I'm going to start off with what I just finished, which is Model Home by Rivers Solomon,
Mm.
and this was phenomenal. I love when authors take a haunted house and they use it to talk about, like, deeper, darker things like, like trauma, sexuality, um, all kinds of stuff. And, River Sullivan basically does this with Model Home. Um, there are 3 siblings. I'm not gonna remember all their names because everybody's name starts with an E, and I'm terrible at this, but Esri is our main narrator. Um, they are I believe they would be trans, but I'm not sure how they fully identify.
Hmm.
Um, they do go by they them. So, but anyway, so these are the Maxwell siblings, and they return to their parents' home after some strange text messages and things. And they've all sort of dispersed. Something has happened. This home is strange. Their like life growing up in this very white, privileged neighborhood as the only black family
Hmm.
um, was like fraught with some issues. But also there's some suspicion over whether or not the house itself is haunted. As they go back through their memories, these siblings, it's clear that there's like lots of things that have happened. I believe Ezri's in the middle, and they have an older sister. I can't remember what her name is. I think that one's Eve, and Emmanuel, I think, is the baby sister. Um, and now they're all adults. They come back to the house and they find their parents dead, presumably by murder suicide. And it sort of unravels this story from there about the house, about what really happened in the house, what really happened to Esri, about the place where they live, um, and the horrors that came from that. It's so well done. It is so beautifully written. Some of the lines are just absolutely stunning. And like the vibes are spot on if you want like a horror book, but it's not just like a scary horror book. Like it has depth and meaning. It's brilliant. I loved it.
Wow. That
Yes.
sounds amazing. There was some I saw on thread somebody posted, and I have to find it, but some outlet really kind of trashed that book. Just I don't know, like kind of saying it was like baseless. And I need to read that review. And the person that posted about it kind of did her take on model home, which was like on the complete opposite of how this outlet thought
I
about
don't
the book.
understand. I would be curious to read whatever that review is because I feel like what do you mean by if the argument is that it's baseless? What do they mean? Because there's so much in this story. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, do we read the same book? Because, I mean, maybe you just don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, but to say
I've got
that
when
just
I
seems like
find that I'll send you the
it
link.
seems like a weird take. It seems like you just wanna hate on something, honestly. But I'll be curious to read it and get, like, the full understanding of their
Yeah.
point of view. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, and I still plan to read it for sure. I still
I
plan to
think
read it.
I think if you liked, Tell Me I'm Worthless, and I think if you liked, In the Dream House, I think you're gonna like Model Home. I think that it covers, like, dark themes through the, like, tool of a haunted home
Yeah.
really well, um, like those books do.
I like it. I'm excited
Mhm,
for it.
mhm.
It's been a while since we got anything from them, so
Yeah,
yeah.
so we'll see.
Okay. My next one is The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer. If you like books about friend groups, then this is the one for you. The summer that Nixon resigned, six teenagers at a summer camp for the arts form what seems likely to be a lifelong friendship. Decades later, the bonds remain, but so much else has changed. Through adolescence, the artistic interests and abilities of these six friends have all been indulged, encouraged, and celebrated. But the kind of creativity that is rewarded at age 15 is not always enough to propel someone through life at age 30, not to mention age 50. And not everyone can sustain in adulthood what seems so special in adolescence. For the group of friends who met and joined together because of a shared sense of being interesting, this is a startling and sometimes painful realization. Slowly, one by one, they must consider adjusting their expectations. I love this because it really felt so realistic. You know, some people do well from adolescence all the way through adulthood, right? Some people are
Mhm,
just lucky that way. And then there are other people who, hey, life happens, they struggle, they fall down, they have to get back up. And it's just like really just adults trying to just find their place, trying to like get a grip on their lives. And some of them are in great places and some of them are in not so great places. And you know how it is with friend groups. There are certain friends in the group you lean on more heavily than others, or the certain ones you tell all your deep dark secrets to, but the others, you're not kind of get to keep them out of the loop. There are the ones you want to, you can ask to borrow money from. There are the other ones when you're in a real crisis you can go to for help. It's that ever changing dynamic of what a friend group looks like. And I think Walliser did a really good job at fleshing all of that out. Like this was very believable. If you
mhm,
have if you are a person who has a group of friends, if you've been friends since childhood, this will feel very real to you, very comfortable for you. And I really loved all the entanglements. This was a very enjoyable read. Not that long. I'm saying that. How many pages is it? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, fine. It's almost 500 pages, but it read quickly for me. Um it
it's not
read
that long,
quickly.
it's just 1,000 pages.
And I highly recommend it. So give that a read. A good fall book. Well, who doesn't like a friend group?
I mean, probably antisocial people, I don't know.
Well, or that.
Um, somebody. There's always
Somebody.
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 Um, if we're talking about atmospheric, like, fall autumnal reads, I'm gonna push Rebecca on you. If somehow you have not read
Mhm.
Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, I'm gonna need you to read it. It's the story of a young woman who is a companion to this rather obnoxious rich woman. She's in Monte Carlo. She happens to run into this very wealthy man named Maxim, who has this beautiful house in Cornwall called Manderley. And they end up getting married. He's older, he's widowed, and then the rest of the story is her basically being haunted by the specter of Rebecca. Our main character is unnamed, and she is just her whole life is just haunted by this the glamour and the charm and the charisma of Maxim's dead wife. But then we find
Mm.
out what really happened with Rebecca. It is um, gothic. It is creepy with Mrs. Danvers, the housekeeper of Manderley. It is a beautifully set novel on the Cornish coast, and it is phenomenal. It is so good. So yes, if you've never read Rebecca, please read Rebecca.
And one
Like
day I
now,
will read Rebecca. One
like
day.
Naomi. Really, this is on the list to make Naomi read Rebecca.
Finally, right? Finally. Okay. By the way, for everyone or anyone wondering how to get like stickers and gross things off your book, I've been using Goo Gone spray
Oh
gel
yeah,
for
Goo Gone's
years.
great.
It's the best. You just spray that sucker and just wipe down with a paper towel, and it's just off. All residue gone. I don't know what y'all are doing. These freaking blow dryers and all these overly complicated things to get stickers off books is unnecessary. Just get a bottle of Goo Gone. I mean, again, using it for years on all books, whatever. It works. Okay. So my next book is A Man in Full by Tom Wolfe. A nice chunker. Uh, I got some chunky ones, don't I? It's fine.
You
You're
do
looking
you
like
like a
that's
chunky one?
I do, I do, I
Well,
do.
I still haven't read that, so if that's even for Rebecca, because that's just been sitting back here
That's right. That's
in
right.
my
You
pile
also
of
have
Tom
it.
Wolfe's. I have Bonfire of the Vanities, A Man in Full, and I Am Charlotte Simmons just sitting there.
Oh,
Probably
you're
spent less
terrible.
than $1 on all 3 of them.
Right, right. I love Bonfire of the Vanities. A lot of people hate that book, but I really like that book. So there you have it. The setting is Atlanta, Georgia, a racially mixed late century boomtown full of fresh wealth and wily politicians. The protagonist is Charles Croker, once a college football star, now a late middle aged Atlanta conglomerate king whose outsized ego has at least hit up against reality. Charlie has a 29,000-acre quail shooting plantation, a young and demanding second wife, and a half empty office complex with a staggering load of debt. Meanwhile, Conrad Hensley, an idealistic young father of two, is laid off from his job at the Croker Global Foods Warehouse near Oakland and finds himself spiraling into the lower depths of the American legal system. And back in Atlanta, when star Georgia Tech running back Fareed the Cannon Fannin, a homegrown product of the city slums, is accused of date raping the daughter of a pillar of white establishment. Upscale black lawyer Roger White too is asked to represent Fannin or Fanon and help keep the city's deliberate racial balance from blowing sky high. There's a lot going on in this book. Um, Charles Croker is one of those like larger than life characters. He is so brash and quite a butthole, and his second wife is annoying, and everything about him just makes you want to just push him off the top of a very high building. But I could not stop reading this book. I know this book is chunky. All right. Listen, this book is 742 pages. I read this book in 2 days. Um, it moves so fast. Listen, I'm not a slow medium pace or I don't know. Every book I read dictates. I'm serious. Every book that I read dictates how fast or slow I read it. I have no control over it. I have no control over it. I open the book, I start reading, and the book decides if I'm going to read it slowly, if I'm going to read it at a regular pace, or if I'm going to fly through it. The book's in control. Okay. A Man in Full was in control. A Man in Full said, "You're going to read this in 2 days." You know why? Because that's how hooked in I've got you. Got you hooked in. It's a lot of, I don't know, fast talking. It's a lot of things happening. It's a lot of tension. Everything's at the height of everything. And I loved it. Also, there is a Netflix adaptation that came out earlier this year. I did a reel about it when I found out. And it's directed by Stephen King, and I've forgotten the guy who played in Newsroom. He's playing the protagonist in this adaptation, and I do plan to watch that soon. But A Man Full is a great book. a fantastic book. Do not be put off by the chunk. For me, it read very quickly. It was a very exciting read. So give it a try.
Well, I have no chunky books for you, so if you don't want any chunky books, just stay over here. So so my next one is actually a graphic novel, and it's Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This is just a really great collection of, like, dark, sinister tales. Some of and the artwork is, like, truly stunning,
Mm,
um, and they really are quite spooky. Uh I think they have they have another collection of sort of spooky tales, and I was trying to find it at the time that, like, I was getting this one years ago, and I
yeah.
couldn't find it, and then I feel like I saw recently that there's a new one coming out,
Yeah.
um, and I think it's that one that I've been looking for. So I wonder if it was just either out of print or it wasn't in the print in the US. So I do want to
Mm.
look for more from Emily Carroll. I do really like their illustrations. I think that these stories in particular, like if you're the kind of kid who read, oh God, what were those stupid books called? The Scary Stories books.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Uh huh.
if you read those and you loved those as a kid, I think that you'll, like, just really enjoy this graphic novel because it's kind of got those
Yeah.
vibes, but a little bit more grown up, a little bit more sinister, and the artwork is stunning. It's just a nice read, on a windy fall night.
Nice.
I love it. Yes.
Nice. I like it.
Mhm.
Okay, my next one is actually my last two are a series. This is the Dublin Murder Squad series by Tana French. I have talked about these books before on this podcast, and I'm gonna run it back because I think a few months ago I finished the series, and I am so glad I took the time to do that. The first book in the Dublin Murder Squad series is called In the Woods. There are 6 books, I believe. Um, so this book and I guess I should mention that each book is a different detective, and so it's not your usual detective series where you're basically following one detective over many cases through many books. Each book is a different detective of this Dublin murder squad. So I guess I should say that. So I'll tell you a little bit about this one, In the Woods. um and so it says 3 children leave their small Dublin neighborhood to play in the surrounding woods. Hours later, their mother's calls go unanswered. When the police arrive, they find only one of the children, gripping a tree trunk in terror, wearing blood filled sneakers, and unable to recall a single detail of the previous hours. 20 years later, Detective Rob Ryan, the found boy who has kept his past a secret, and his partner Cassie Maddox investigate the murder of a 12-year-old girl in the same woods, now with only snippets of long buried memories to guide him. Ryan has a chance to uncover both the mystery of the case before him and that of his own shadowy past. Let me tell you why I love this series so much. If you are expecting your like kind of a popcorn thriller, this is not what that is. This is not what that is. This is a much more like literary thriller. This writing is incredible. This character development is amazing. The stories are so gripping and so dark. You are really in for like a full meal with these books. They are very heavy, they are very gritty. So be prepared, like come hungry, basically. Come hungry. These books will definitely fill you up. So I just want to make that clear because I don't want you thinking like you're going to get some kind of like Riley Sager type of book. That's not what you're getting here. This Tana French lady's on another level.
I don't
she
think that we recommend Riley Sager books on this
I have
podcast.
never read a Riley Sager book. So I'm just saying, like,
You're
don't expect
fine.
that
You've
popcorn
missed
thriller
nothing.
thing. Don't expect it. You are getting like a really, really meaty thriller here. So leans more literary. So you're gonna get more packed to the punch. So I highly recommend this series, The Dublin Murder Squad. Let me just let you know. So book one is In the Woods. Book two is The Likeness. Book three is Faithful Place. Book four is Broken Harbor. Book five is The Secret Place, and book six is The Trespasser. Get into it. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I still have I just have those collecting dust in part of my
How many are you missing now?
oh, I don't even know. I have to go back through. I'd have to
Oh, okay.
pull up my spreadsheet and look at where I am.
Okay.
Um, so I actually haven't read this yet, but I always eye it, and I think I may read it soon. And that is They Drown Our Daughters by Katrina Monroe. And
That sounds so familiar. Let me see. Let me see that?
because I think
Huh.
I think a lot of people did read this back when it came out maybe a year or two ago. Um, and I won't read you the whole thing just because I think there's a bit of a mystery to it, but I'll read you like this little blurby part. It says part modern gothic, part ghost story. They Drown Our Daughters explores the depths of motherhood, identity, and the lengths a woman will go to hold on to both. I
Hmm.
There's a mother suffering from, the early stages of Alzheimer's, there's her daughter, there's something happening in this town. Like, it just sounds really interesting. I'm not
Yeah.
a fan of the typeface in this book, like, it's just weirdly small. Like, it feels
That
too
was
small
tiny.
like, it's weird for, like, the line spacing, I think is what it is. I think to be that small, I want the lines closer together,
Yeah.
or I just want the P or want, like, the font bigger, I'm not sure, but it just sounds really interesting. I think do we alternate perspectives? I think we have a couple perspectives, and it's just I'm very interesting in this little family, and I don't know, I just like, there's just something on your, shelf, and you just kinda, like,
Yeah.
constantly eyeing it, and you're like, "Mm, is it
Oh, yeah,
time?
like
Is it
how I'm
time?"
constantly eyeing House of Leaves back there, and how every single year I say I'm gonna read it, and then I just like, "Oh, nah, change your mind."
Well,
Like that?
I've started it a few times, and it's I don't know. One day I might be in the actual, like, headspace to complete House of Leaves, but anyway, I very interested in getting to this. That's They Drown Our Daughters by Katrina Monroe. If you've read this, let me know what you thought of it. It just I don't know, there's, like, something that calls it was like singing from the shelf, so I threw it in here.
Wow. That sounds good.
Mhm.
Okay. My last set of books, a series again. This is the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire, which I love
Mhm.
so much. It is a favorite of mine. Okay. There are, was this three, six? There are 9 books in this series. One comes out every year. They are delightful. Every year I read all these books right before the new one is released, which I always pre-order. Look, when I first got one of the series, they only had 4 books out. And so ever since then I've been pre-ordering the next one every year, and I read the previous ones, and it feels like a real gift to myself to reread them because they're so delightful. All right. So, the first book is Every Heart a Doorway. This is portal fantasy basically. They go through all these portals, and it's if you're into portal fantasy, you're going to love these books. And it's all about these kids who have gone through these open portals, always not totally like knowing what they're doing, but they go in these portals and they go into a world that's more suited for them, that's more aligned to like who they are as an individual person, and they make a life there. And then something happens and they've gone through another portal and they've gone back to their original world. So many of these kids, I say kids, but some of them are like they're like teenagers, but they're trying to find a portal to get back to where they were. Nobody really wants to go back home. They want to go back to the world that they had belonged to, and had spent time in. And so you get all these like mysteries and adventures of them, trying to find their way back. And it's just the most fun. And these group of kids are just so freaking interesting. And these worlds are so creatively built. I mean, it is just really a good time all the way through. And as you can see, like all the books are very, very short, under 200 pages. And like you can really like get through a couple of these books in a day. It is a good time. I highly recommend it. If you like Porter Fantasy, if you want to give Porter Fantasy a try, please check out the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. And I've got that book 10 on pre-order. So I'll be reading these in December right before that new one comes out. So excited.
She
I
loves
love
these.
Shauna McGuire so much. They are amazing.
So my last is a collection of, like, horror short stories that I just started, and I'm recommending it because there's one here that caught my eye, and that's why I picked this up, and I think the story involves somebody, like, in a pickle contest, and they pickle somebody for the pickle contest, and that
Okay.
was enough, for me to buy it, and then so this is Dead Relatives by Lucy McKnight Hardy, um,
Oh, I've
and I'm
seen
gonna
that
need
cover.
oh, yeah, I'm dropping my glasses because this type is too small for me, but anyway, Iris has never left the big house in the country she shares with Mammy and the servants. When the ladies arrive, she finds that she must appease her dead relatives. Other stories in this collection explore themes of motherhood and the fragile body, family dynamics and small town tensions, unusual traditions, and metamorphosis. Dead Relatives and Other Stories is a highly anticipated, no holds barred short story collection from Lucy McKnight Hardy. So I guess they have another novel called Water Shall Refuse Them, which I've never even heard anybody talk about. But anyway, it says this is not for the faint of heart. It's from Dead Ink Books, which I've never heard of either. But I'm here for it. Like I like love like I really am enjoying this so far. I'm very early in, but the writing
Okay.
is engaging, and I'm just here for like some weird ass stories. And I like little collections like this because you can just read a story and then forget about it for a bit, and then read a story and forget about it for a bit, you know?
Yeah.
You just pick it up when you're ready. So yeah, Dead Relatives.
Wow. Okay. Nice. All
Yeah.
right. Well, hopefully some of these fall books are sound like they might tickle your fancy. Maybe you'll give them a try. If you
Mhm.
do, let us know.
Mhm.
Let us know on our Instagram or whatever. Yeah, so there you have it.
Mhm.
Wow. Now I'm all excited about that 10th Wayward Children book. It's called Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear. Oh, I'm excited. I hope Shannon never stops writing this series.
They might not.
Is that too much to ask? I don't think so because let me tell
I
you
mean, at some
something.
point I mean, at some point we'll all die and the series will have to end anyway.
I mean, yeah, but we'll be dead and then it won't matter. But I'm just saying, I just hope it goes on for a long time. They are just so wonderful. I love them so much. Okay. That's enough
Yeah,
gushing, I guess.
that's enough gushing. What do you got for recommend for the folks, for the peoples?
Oh God. If Bill Street Could Talk by James Baldwin, another one of Dad's books.
Mhm.
The man and I did see this movie when it came out some years ago, which was fantastic. But my goodness, reading the book was just on a whole other level. So
Level.
we follow 19-year-old Tish, who is deeply in love with Fonnie, who is a aspiring sculptor. And
Mhm.
they're dating, and she gets pregnant, and they're going about their lives. And then he is accused of raping this. Is she Latin American? Accused of raping this Latin American, no, this Puerto Rican woman, and then he's sent to prison. And
Mm.
so in this book, we are dealing with their two Tisha's family and Fonnie's family trying to figure out how to get him out, how to really find out what happened, how to track down this woman that accused him of rape. And then in the meantime, we're getting all these flashbacks of watching Tish and Fonnie's relationship bloom and grow. And this book feels like a blues record. You know what I mean? Like watching their relationship, how they met, you know, how long it took for them to finally go out, them getting to know one another and them like falling in love is just so sweet. But then there's that cold bitterness of like him being accused of rape and being sent to prison and her being pregnant and now having to deal with that pregnancy, not on her own because she has her family, but like not with her man. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like it's bittersweet, like all the way through, like blues. And it is lovely, and it is sad, and it's a little scary because you can also see how like trying to post bail and just all the things you deal with trying to like help someone in the prison system is just so difficult, and you don't know what route to take. You don't know what's the best path, and getting the money up is hard, and like nothing is easy. Absolutely nothing is easy. It's horrendous for both families, and then like at the core there is this child that is going to be born soon, and so there's a great joy and hope around that, so it just pulls on your heartstrings constantly. It is a beautiful read, and you really cannot put this book down. I read this in a sitting. I had my little tea, I had my little cup of fruit, and I read this book in a few hours because you are just so gripped by these families and these people, and you don't want to stop reading. And it's very, very short. It's only 212 pages long, 213 pages long, but it is a wonderful read. The movie's exceptional too, but please read the book. It will really do something to your heart if Bill Street could talk.
I love it. That's your dad's book.
Yeah.
I love it. Um, so I decided that we're gonna recommend this because I think it fits the brief of this episode and it's timely, and that's The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I
Absolutely.
just
Yes,
think
ma'am.
it makes sense to do this again here. So before the nightmares began, Yi Young He, sorry, need the readers, and her husband lived an ordinary, controlled life, but the dreams, invasive images of blood and brutality torture her, driving Young He to purge her mind and renounce eating meat altogether. It's a small act of independence, but it interrupts her marriage and sets into motion an increasingly grotesque chain of events at home. As her husband, her brother in law, and her sister each fight to reassert their control, Yang He obsessively defends, I'm probably saying her name wrong, but I'm doing my best, defends the choice that's become sacred to her. Soon their attempts turn desperate, subjecting first her mind and then her body to ever more intrusive and perverse violations, sending Young Hee spiraling into a dangerous, bizarre estrangement, not only from those closest to her, but from herself. This book will stick with you. I love this book. I still think about scenes just like randomly. Uh, so good, so haunting, so beautifully written. Please read it if you haven't.
Mm. Hmm.
Go forth and read The Vegetarian.
Yes, please do. It's a great book. And
Mhm.
as Alyssa had recommended to me before I read The Vegetarian, she said to me, I think it will be interesting if you read The Vegetarian and Tenders of Flesh by Augustina Basterica back to back, which I did. And she was right. That was a very interesting book pairing. So,
Mhm.
mhm.
And I would add in now that I've read it, what was that Brazilian author's book of Cattle and Men?
Anna something.
I would add that into that little trio of books. I think that's a very interesting look at a way of looking at humanity and control
Hmm.
and our lack of it, and like consumption of like foods and cruelty and carnality, and it's just very there's I think those 3 books together would be a very interesting grouping of
Yeah.
things to read sort of
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yep. I'm gonna read that one. I do. I never read that, but I do have it because they sent it to me last year, or maybe I don't know when it was, but I'll read that as well.
At first, I didn't really think that I cared for it because the way it was briefed to me, I was expecting something, mm, different in some way. So but then as I've been, like, separated from it and I've thought about it some more and it kinda comes up more and more and I think about it more and more,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I think it's for me, it was more of a slow burn than like, an instant, like, hit,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
there's just books that kinda, like, seep into you later,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So is
Whew.
that it? Is
That
that
is
everything?
it.
That's
That
it. I don't
that's
have any
it.
more books. Mm,
I don't have any more books either. Wow. Listen, guys, we're mega recording today, which means we're recording 4 episodes in a day. And let me tell you something. It's a lot, okay? But we do it
it
for the
is a lot.
people. so that we don't miss getting out weekly episodes. Anyway, thank you to all those who have supported us since season one. We greatly appreciate it. Please share our podcast with a friend or two. Please leave us a review. And follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown and visit our website, tbrlowdown.com. And that's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye.
Bye.